Eliezer Ben-Yehuda was a Jewish Litvak lexicographer of Hebrew and newspaper editor. He was the driving spirit behind the revival of the Hebrew language in the modern era. Biography. Eliezer Ben-Yehuda was born Eliezer Yitzhak Perlman in Luzki, Polish Luki, Vilna Governorate of the Russian Empire. He attended Cheder where he studied Hebrew and the Bible from the age of 3, as was customary among the Jews of Eastern Europe. By the age of 12, he had read large portions of the Torah, Mishnah, and Talmud. His mother and uncle hoped he would become a rabbi and sent him to a yeshiva, where he was exposed to the Hebrew of the Enlightenment, which included some secular writings. Later, he learned French, German, and Russian, and was sent to Dunneberg for further education. Reading the Hebrew language newspaper He, he became acquainted with the early movement of Zionism and concluded that the revival of the Hebrew language in the land of Israel could unite all Jews worldwide. Upon graduation he went to Paris to study at the Sorbonne University. Among the subjects he studied were history and politics of the Middle East. While he was in Paris he met a Jew from Jerusalem who spoke Hebrew with him. It was this use of Hebrew in a spoken form that convinced him that the revival of Hebrew as the language of a nation was feasible. Ben-Yehuda spent 4 years in Paris. In 1881 Ben-Yehuda immigrated to Palestine, then ruled by the Ottoman Empire, and settled in Jerusalem. He found a job teaching at the Alliance Israelite Universal School. Motivated by the surrounding ideals of renovation and rejection of the diaspora lifestyle, Ben-Yehuda set out to develop a new language that could replace Yiddish and other regional dialects as a means of everyday communication between Jews who made Aliyah from various regions of the world. Ben-Yehuda regarded Hebrew and Zionism as symbiotic. The Hebrew language can live only if we revive the nation and return it to the fatherland, he wrote. To accomplish the task, Ben-Yehuda insisted with the Committee of the Hebrew language that, to quote the committee records, in order to supplement the deficiencies of the Hebrew language, the committee coins words according to the rules of grammar and linguistic analogy from Semitic roots, Aramaic and especially from Arabic roots. Ben-Yehuda was married twice, to 2 sisters. His first wife, Devorah, died in 1891 of tuberculosis, leaving him with 5 small children. Her final wish was that Eliezer marry her younger sister, Paula Baylor. Soon after his wife Devorah's death, 3 of his children died of diphtheria within a period of 10 days. 6 months later, he married Paula, who took the Hebrew name Hemda. Hemda Ben-Yehuda became an accomplished journalist and author in her own right, ensuring the completion of the Hebrew dictionary in the decades after Eliezer's death, as well as mobilizing fundraising and coordinating committees of scholars in both Palestine and abroad. Ben-Yehuda raised his son, Ben-Zion Ben-Yehuda, entirely through Hebrew. He refused to let his son be exposed to other languages during childhood. He even once yelled at his wife after he caught her singing a Russian lullaby to the child. His son Ben-Zion was the first native speaker of modern Hebrew. Journalistic career. Ben-Yehuda was the editor of several Hebrew-language newspapers, Hasvi, Hashkafa, and He. Hasvi was closed down for a year in the wake of opposition from Jerusalem's ultra-Orthodox community, which fiercely objected to the use of Hebrew, the holy tongue, for everyday conversation. Lexicography. Ben-Yehuda was a major figure in the establishment of the Committee of the Hebrew Language, later the Academy of the Hebrew Language, an organization that still exists today. He was the author of the first modern Hebrew dictionary and became known as the reviver of the Hebrew language. Despite opposition to some of the words he coined, many of these words have become part of the language, but others, some 2,000 words, never caught on. His word for tomato, for instance, was bajra, but Hebrew speakers today use the word agvenia. Ancient languages and modern Standard Arabic were major sources for Ben-Yehuda and the committee, according to Joshua Blau, quoting the criteria insisted on by Ben-Yehuda. In order to supplement the deficiencies of the Hebrew language, the committee coins words according to the rules of grammar and linguistic analogy from Semitic roots, Aramaic, Canaanite, Egyptian ones, and especially from Arabic roots. Concerning Arabic, Ben-Yehuda maintained, inaccurately according to Blau and historical evidence, that Arabic roots are ours. The roots of Arabic were once a part of the Hebrew language, lost, and now we have found them again. Death and commemoration. In December 1922, Ben-Yehuda, 64, died of tuberculosis, from which he suffered most of his life. He was buried on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. His funeral was attended by 30,000 people. Ben-Yehuda built a house for his family in the Talpiot neighborhood of Jerusalem, but died 3 months before it was completed. His wife Hemdah lived there for close to 30 years. 10 years after her death, her son Ehud transferred the title of the house to the Jerusalem municipality for the purpose of creating a museum and study center. Eventually it was leased to a church group from Germany who established a center there for young German volunteers. The house is now a conference center and guest house run by the German organization Action Reconciliation Service for Peace, which organizes workshops, seminars, and Hebrew language open programs. In his book Was Hebrew Ever a Dead Language?, Cecil Roth summed up Ben-Yehuda's contribution to the Hebrew language. Before Ben-Yehuda, Jews could speak Hebrew. After him, they did.